All right, we are on. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Great day in the evening. So we got a lot going on, more than you can imagine, I'm sure. Let's just look at it as a mass initiation, yeah, and that in the process of awakening the soul, it has to do with people choosing sides, whether or not they're on the left and they follow fear and they follow anxiety and they follow distrust and they follow a lack of love in themselves and for others. So that would be along the line of people who don't wear a mask and people who don't want to take shots and people who don't want to do what is in the world today. They don't know that the world is a church. It's a monastery. It's a temple. There's one Lord trying to fix it. But people on their independent little high horse are, making their own independent decisions, and they're bad. They're based on their solar plex. So they're afraid they're going to die, or they're afraid they're going to get sick, or they're afraid that this or that, rather than just dealing with what's going on and trusting that you're probably on the side of safe rather than on the side of unsafe. Yeah. But when for so long, when you're without God and you're running down this road all on your own, you fall all the time and you bring everybody down with you, and you're the cause of bringing everybody down, and it's really hard to trust in the Lord and the Lord's work. You can't really see what's going on. So in the middle of it, we're going to have a Trump, we're going to have a virus, we're going to have all these things come up that are going to be your personal choices, opportunities that the Lord's going to give you. And that's called a dweller on the threshold. And either you are panicked in a lack of soul, in a lack of caring for other people, in a lack of having cared for yourself in a proper way with fearlessness, then you're going to be on the side of fear. And you're going to have a desire body that's based in your solar plex, that's based in, I believe I'm a Christian, therefore I'm a Christian. But that doesn't make you a Christian. What makes you a Christian is being humble and being caring and being sharing and letting go of what you think is wrong and opening up to the other person's side of the situation. And maybe forgiving it. Because maybe they are wrong, but your forgiveness will actually make it so that they don't ever do wrong again. But your judgment will absolutely stamp right on top of it. You're judged. You've already made a mistake. There are no more opportunities. I'm going to give you no opportunities. Maybe one more chance. That's really terrible. In a world where the externalization is taking place and people are behaving like this. And they don't take it as though it's amounting to anything, because it's their nature. It's their nature. They're in their own world. They are not a part of this world. They're ruling the world, and they're in their own world. And who's ever in their little orb, they rule. And they're going to make sure they rule. They'll overstep anybody. They'll undercut everybody. It'll be a pressure thing. That means, pressuring people not to wear a mask, pressuring people not to take a shot for vaccine, pressuring people to think thoughts of negativity, come up with reasons to think thoughts of negativity. It's an ongoing process where people have bought in, to the tree of knowledge. And they're deluded in this whole process. It's very hard to give people a soul when they have that going on, because they're harming people while they're being blessed. And they won't stop it. And they think, just judging a person is not harmful. If I didn't care, then I wouldn't judge them. My judgment is showing that I care. Oh, that's the devil speaking. You know, that's your rationale. That's your, you know, your reason to harm a person. You reason it. You know, there is no reason. There's no reason whatsoever. Yeah. You know, love is a detached reality. It's not like I don't care and I don't do this because I don't care. You know, love is a process where you detach a little bit, give it some time, show some patience, show a bit of virtue, you know, and express change. Allow change to take place. That's the biggest thing during the dweller of the threshold, is allowing change to take place. Because of distrust of oneself, one doesn't see the change. And it could be mounting up day by day, but still they can't witness the change, you know. So it's difficult, you know. And here we have a whole world of people who believe that Trump is going to be president, and a whole bunch of Christians. I mean, a whole bunch of Christians, evangelical Christians, fanatic Christians, people of just Christian faith, took it upon themselves to prophesize in their own mind that they believe God is telling them that Trump, their idol, you know, is going to be president, because they idolize him and they're Christians. So to them, that is, they rationalize it. No matter how much evil going on, and these are good people. They're good people. But their problem is that they are sinful. They're sinful people. They don't have enough soul to fight against the devil. And they continue sinning in their little ways, and when it comes time to making a choice, their choice doesn't go the right direction. No, I don't want the shot. No, I don't want to, you know, put on a mask, or, you know, all these things. Yeah. And a lot of times, imagine it's a whole great big process. You know, they got the weaker people who are led by just fear in their projected thought. You know, that I'm not going to wear a mask because I'm losing my liberty, and you'll take away my Christmas. You know, you'll take away Jesus Christ. I can't go to the church. If you tell me I can't go to the church, that's just like drives me crazy. You know, and yet why would you want to go to a room full of people when common sense tells you that's where you're going to get hurt, and that's where other people will get hurt? You know, well, in your solar plex, you're going rationalizing, well, but God's in there, and God is going to save me from this virus, and da-da-da-da. You know, and yet in the news and all around the world, that's not what's happening. What is happening is that God is saving people if God behave in people. Yeah, and they cooperate with that behavior, because God is instructing everybody all around the world, leaving out no stone unturned to get the message across. Common sense tells you got to do these things. If you don't take a shot, you're the same as the person who's not wearing a mask. You know, it's not about you not getting the virus. It's about you passing the virus. You could be the person who doesn't show symptoms of a virus. Does that make sense? So that way, you're the Trojan horse. You know? And that's bad karma, man. That's really bad karma. That's bad karma. Yeah. And it's just because you're so uppity-duppity, you know, probably white and probably, you know, all these things, to where you feel that you're protective. Oh, God protects me, I'm chosen, or, you know, I'm whatever, you know. And it's not true. It's not true. The problem is that we pass it on to another person. It's a process of harm to other people, yeah. And we're not really getting that fully, you know. There's a lot of people who aren't getting it. But now that we've gotten rid of Trump, guess what happened? We've gone 10% less people getting it to 20% less people getting it. 20%, that's a lot, yeah. And that's mainly because 80 to 90% of the people who can get a shot are getting a shot. Yeah? And that creates immunity. Immunity, herd immunity. It's by taking vaccines, not by getting, the disease and thinking that you're immune from it. That's not herd immunity. Herd immunity is when you take the vaccine. Everybody takes the vaccine, and we are safe. Children are safe. Newborn babies are safe. New strains of this terrible, terrible disease doesn't grow in a person because they took the vaccine. Yeah? We have to stop it. We are the place in which it grows. Yeah? This is how it doesn't just become the vaccine, it becomes multiple levels of this virus. Yeah? So it's really difficult. It's a science thing. It's not a real, something that we know real clearly that if we just do this, this will work out and everything will work out just fine. Yeah. So it's a matter of helping people in the process of getting the soul manifested. It's not an individual thing. It's a collective body thing. The temple of God is not an individual thing only known by Jews, or known by certain religions. It is something that's known in the Bible, the temple of God. It's known in the Bible. And the way in which God expresses on earth, it's known in the Bible. And that the Bible really isn't in pages. It's in the temple. The temple itself is the Bible. The structure of the temple, the layers of the temple, the height of the temple, the width of the temple, it represents destiny. It represents the plan. And it's created by the Lord Jesus Christ, the plan. And if we look at the Great Pyramid, and if you study the Bible, you'll find that the people in Israel who say that, this is built by Khufu, and by the other different pharaohs, they built these and this and that, and Khufu built this one. But it's not true. It's not anywhere in the written history of any kind. It was written by an archaeologist long, long ago who made an assumption. And his problem was that he wasn't a Christian. So he didn't read the Bible. And if he had read the Bible, it says right there in the Bible the name of the person who built the pyramid, and that the pyramid is the temple of God. The temple of God. And that not only in the temple of God is it kind of like a temple or a house or church like you think. It's not that at all. It's not. It's a divine design. It's the design. God designed you. And God maintains that design through the temple. And it maintains the destiny of all creation, time, and matter in the temple. But that's in the mind of Jesus Christ, activated, manifested, and maintained in the mind of Jesus Christ. So when you read the Bible and you study this further and further and further, you find out the person who built the pyramid was Enoch. And that's in the Bible. And it says a certain name. It's kind of what? I don't know that name. Never heard that name before. But if you study it, you find out that name is the interpretation of Enoch. And Enoch's not a man. Enoch is an angel, the archangel Metatron. And you read that if you read the Bible. You find out when Enoch left his body, he didn't die. He ascended. And when he ascended to the throne of God. Not on the throne of God, but a little Yahweh on a little throne in the likeness of God, called Metatron. That's in the Bible. If you read it, if you read the Bible, if you don't listen to Christians and you don't listen to Jewish people and you don't listen to this and that, but you read the Bible, and then you listen to me, Because the Bible is the temple. It's not words. It's not things that you write down that are given by this disciple or this prophet or that prophet. No. It's actually a description of the reverence of manifestation that came from building the temple, the creation of the temple, the placement of the temple, the purpose of the temple. And check this out.
And this is the book of the Master of the Hidden Places. And this was written by Egyptians about a structure that it's going to describe. It has a thing called the descent, the chamber of ordeal, the hall of truth and darkness, the well of life, the path of righteousness, bringing forth of the regenerative soul. All of these different passages, rather interesting. Secret place of the hidden God, and chamber of the open tomb of resurrection. So this is an Egyptian book that describes all of these features. And when we look, remember we had these different passages. We can actually identify in this structure passages that line up with these descriptions in this book. If we put it in our context.
Now the book of death, is the Bible before it became the Bible. So if you understand that book, it's before the origin of people who translated it into the existing Bible. So this is a synthesized reality, enlightened form of the Bible, without a bunch of personality crap to it. It's about the ascension of humanity, the creation of earth, and the manifestation of the Lord and His temple, and the purpose behind the temple. And it shows the evolution of humanity throughout time, all the way through time, all the way up to this point in time.
Next, we call the descending passage, which points to what? The dragon star, representing Satan, the descent, the broad road of destruction, the reign of death. We see the ransom demonstrated by the Lamb of God. We see the Jewish and the gospel age represented by those ascending passage, and the horizontal passage representing the messianic age. Let's continue. We look at the subterranean passage, and when you get down there, you have to crawl on your knees. This is really a description of the way to the grave.
All the way to the bottom.
We look at the passage into the king's chamber. You also have to bend over. And you're surrounded by red granite, and it's the way of righteousness. We look at the horizontal passage, and here's the point where you can stand fully up. It's the full measure of a man. And it's interesting because it's 6/7 of the way down. And if we want to apply just a little bit of chronology here, 6,000 years of man's descent before he can stand upright and enter into a new relationship with God.
So what he's referring to is the fact that humanity is in a state of evolution, and that their state is without soul. It talks about the fall of humanity, the fall of angels, the creation of a new world that's coming. A new world. But in order to bring that, the world had to be evolved, a new destiny. So hell and the world went to war. You got the Catholic Church, you got all these different things, you got all forms of prophecy, doomsday reality, wars everywhere. All the things that we've gone through is from darkness. It's not from light. But we're moving toward the light. And right now we're at the very point where there's a 1,000-year cycle where the light is really starting to shine. And it comes into humanity, and we start getting governing scenarios. We find America, we break away from tyranny, we get rid of the king, queen, we battle wars for human rights rather than for greed and money and sovereignty of a king or a queen or a relationship of belief, yeah, due to a religion. Yeah. It was for human rights. Yeah. Because of so much rights were taken away. We could see that all those things we put our faith into, whether it be Christianity or government or our political or our relationship to king and queen, yeah, it could be misused. Yeah, and we find ourselves in a situation to where we're on a ship and we're heading toward America, and we don't like or don't want the king or queen anymore, after we've spent hundreds and hundreds of years supporting it. Yeah. So it's at that end, it's at that process. We're at that 1,000-year cycle of evolution where this has happened. Yeah. And we're now at a cycle where I'll show you here, this is, if you think of the pyramid, you think of the phi ratio. Yeah. The influence of a spiral that comes out like that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a pyramid. That is exactly what a pyramid is. It's nothing more than that. But that's also your eyes, yeah? It's your hands, yeah? The geometric configuration, the simple geometry of your being, every flower, everything that exists is not chaos. It's a pattern, yeah, of a divine design. And the thing is that you're asleep in the middle of a temple of divine design. And you're kicking and screaming and saying it's all poo-poo, and why don't I have while others have, and all this kind of stuff. You know? It's just rage. It's just a process of rage. It has nothing to do with the fact that you are made manifest by God. There are demons amongst you people, and they are not interested in God. They're interested in listening to God, so that they could be gods. Yeah. Watch your history. Go back to history. Nearly every single student of a divine being was a demon. Because the demigods want to be gods. Average people, no. Average people just, live about their life. They're not going about to do that. So the whole process throughout time has been, here you see Mary Magdalena comes up to Jesus, and everybody turns her into a demigod. Yeah. Mary, her process, she had a child she didn't even conceive. She can't say, it's my child. She can't say that, but she does. And masters come for it, and she won't give it away. That's the biggest sin in the life of Jesus that ever happened. His death was nothing compared to that moment. And that lady's decision. She was a demigod. The whole earth is filled with demigods. Who are you going to choose? Yeah? Who are you going to choose? Which one of these demigods is going to be my mom? Yeah? That was the scenario. You can go back to Krishna, you'll see the same thing. The demigods were so self-aware of being demigods, that people knew them as incarnated demigods. So Krishna's own uncle was an incarnated demigod. And he knew because he was a prophet and he was psychic. Yeah, demigods are like that. Yeah, when you're psychic, you don't have to say shit to anybody. You just manipulate the realms of existence silently. Through your greed, through your hate toward another person, through your suspicion, just subtle suspicion, literally morphically changes a person from the person they would have been if their soul was released. Just by the average person having a feeling of distrust toward another person. And then start psychologically going, you know what kind of person they are. Yeah. Unless they're really highly evolved and can actually see the entity for what it really is, they're actually the one cursing that person. Yeah. Marking them with all kinds of vices that are coming out of that person and not the person that they're projecting to. And that person then turns into it. This happens in marriage all the time. All the time. Yeah. You go off to work, you're a guy, you're a girl, you're not with your husband, and you're a good-looking person, you're a nice person, somebody wants to marry you, you did get married, So that thought is always there in the other person. And you're not with them, and they don't know what you're doing. And if that jealousy bug starts coming up, and you start thinking, and you see you watch your TV, and you see your soap opera, and you see every guy is out looking for a woman, and all the women are undercutting other women, lying and deceiving and taking their husbands, And you think, well, that's got to be going on in real life. Yeah. If you study flower essences, you'd find out that every negative thought has an actual physical manifestation to it. Car accidents, cancer, a way a person converses. Yeah. 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 And yet, even though you're the one projecting it to the person, and the person manifests into it, that's called manifest destiny. It's a demigod's world. That's a demigod's world. And this is the world we're in. In every way, every shape, every form. Yeah. The whole world is this way. Yeah. There's hardly a temple, there's hardly anywhere that doesn't have this going on. It's almost impossible to break it up. The only way it's broken up is for you slowly but surely to come to realize the real reality of God. Yeah. And that it's awakening process. Yeah, it's not you joining a church or you believing in a prophecy or any of that. It's the process of the time of destiny, a plan that's in manifestation. Yeah, and it has no interest in what process you're going to have to go through in order to make it through the other side of this plan. It would be nice if a lot of time had been spent in purification and meditation and preparation, but that had not happened, Yeah. So people just think, well, I can just continue drinking, I can continue eating, I can continue doing my negative thinking, my jealousy, my enviousness, and, after I'm dead, God will judge me. Truly, we think like that. If you're even religious, you think like that. And that's so stupid. You're wasting everybody's life. Yeah. The time and energy we put in every single second toward not being judgmental, not having a reaction. A reaction creates an action that you then have a reaction to. Now, what happens first, chicken or the egg? Yeah. Could it be that a person's reaction in a given moment created the event that manifested into that process? So now the person has to react. Where do miracles come in? What makes things not happen? And then the person is sitting in a place of joy and happiness. Oh my God, I'm glad that didn't happen. And less the person thinks in terms of negativity, that shit like this is going to happen, or this person is like this, and they're going to continue doing negative things, and, all that really bad demigod mind thought. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, it's almost impossible to get rid of. Yeah, but it only comes in the process of divinity, the healing through divinity and purification. Yeah. So that's what's going on right now. Whether anybody likes it or not, yeah, everybody's being purified. Everybody's being purified. Yeah. And I'm watching. Yeah. And as people get better, I continue blessing and forgiving and understanding. Yeah. And clarifying. Yeah. Because I know what's coming next. I told you a long time ago, sports has got to go. Why? Because it's competition. Yeah. It comes from your solar plex. It's a habit. Yeah. You need to get rid of habits, not maintain them, not get more excited about them. Yeah? Because you just made agreement with the devil. And you don't see the harm that you're doing. You don't see football players with concussions, lives that are gone on after they play football, and they kill people, and they kill themselves, they kill their family, and they ruin themselves throughout the rest of their lives. And no one cares, and no one does anything about it. That's sports. Yeah. Everybody suffers from sports. Your knees, your feet, your ankles, your spine. Everybody. Basketball players, baseball players. Everybody suffers from sports. Yeah. Combative athletics, football, basketball, even basketball. Yeah. There's martial arts. Fine way to become an athlete. Because what you're doing with that is that you're not doing anything to create harm on yourself or another person. And you're coming out of it in the ability to not harm a person. Yeah. You don't practice martial arts to fight. You practice martial arts to have the strength to walk away. To have the strength to never show you have any abilities whatsoever. You stand completely calm. Yeah, that's it. That is your martial art. You may have trained and broke boards and flipped people and had all this ability and skills, but you are not to use them. Yeah, they're there just so you will have strength and balance and the ability to maintain your strength and courage. Yeah. You know, there's a whole process in this thing. You have to be able to turn the other cheek, people. And nobody I know yet can do that. Everybody wants to slap someone back or even slap them before they get slapped. Yeah. And we don't need to be slapping. Yeah. We don't need to have any of this energy of getting angry at someone for any reason whatsoever. There's no real reason for it because it causes irreparable harm to the soul. Yeah. And imagine you're playing football or you're playing a sport. You know, your competition against the other team is dramatic, and you got tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people all having the same dramatic bullshit attitude and feeling. You know? And you won't even sit together with the other side. You know? It'll make you so angry. Why? It's just a game. It's just a game. Yeah? But we're led into something we don't know what it's doing to us. Yeah? And all this sports and everything has made it impossible for people to cooperate during this virus. Made it impossible. And made it more possible for people to grab their guns, put on their flak jackets, you know, and be aggressive. Be competitive. Yeah? You know, go off and say the blues and the reds. Blue states and the red states. What is this, a football game? That's all it is. It's an externalization of bad culture. Yeah. When you have games like this, you know, this goes all the way back to really bad, evil times when people used to send people in for the lions because it was great fun, great sport. You'd send people in for other people to get their heads cut off, you know, by warriors because it was a sport. Yeah. All these things all come from that. They all come from that. Because people have a tendency to like to watch the aggressive nature of things, the bad outcome of things. It's bad enough to be afraid that something terrible is going to happen to you, but what if you can set up something terrible and then you get to watch it? That's what most movies are based on. How many real times is there shooting going on down the street? How many times do cops pull out their guns and start shooting back and forth? Yeah, hardly ever. And the only time they would is because they saw it on TV. And it became culturally, gee, that seems like the thing you should do. Because they don't get training. They're not trained to be peaceful, negotiators, calm, martial art people rather than pull the gun. No, they're lazy, fat, aggressive people who do not know how to properly defend themselves with calmness, with peace, with understanding. Yeah? It's not happening because we have too much solar plex. Too much solar plex. We have to do everything we can to bring this heart into awakening. Yeah? And this virus is really helping it out. So look at the symptoms now. We have symptoms to where sports is ending. Yeah? There is no more sports. Yeah? No one could play sports. You can watch it, but nobody can sit in the stands. Yeah? And the teams are playing, but 700 team members have already gone down with the coronavirus. So it's really not something they want to do. Yeah? Because once you get it, you don't just die of it. You know, you live the rest of your life with the worst symptoms you'll ever have. I would rather take a vaccine than take a chance of getting that coronavirus. Yeah, but that's me. Yeah, there's two sides to everything. Yeah. So there's this process where sports is closing down. Yeah, and the tyranny that went on to Washington, D.C., and the Proud Boys, well, the Proud Boys aren't proud anymore because they're illegal human beings. They're terrorists. They've been labeled terrorists. If you watch the news, you'd see people who went to that violent process. They went there because of Trump. They went there because they were a Proud Boy. They went there because they were proud to be Americans. Yeah, standing up for American flag. Yeah, being great citizens of America. You know, they're stealing the vote. You know, we're trying to defend America, true democracy. This is where they were coming from because they were lied to, and they believed in it. Yeah, and then they get back in a car, and they go to the airport all on the same day. You know. November 6th, the same day. Yeah. And when they get there, they're on a terrorist list. They can't get on the plane. And if you watch the news, you'd see these guys and ladies screaming as they're being pulled off planes, as they're being kept from getting on the plane. And they're going crazy. Now I'm a terrorist, they're screaming. Everybody hates me. Yeah? All I did was defend my country. But now I'm a terrorist. Now I'm illegal. Now I'm going to go to prison. Yeah? And Fox News. Yeah? People are going, wow, you know, they have the right. You know, we have the amendment, First Amendment, freedom of speech. You know, Fox News, Trump. They all have a right to say what they think is true. But they knew that they were making ratings. Trump knew that he was creating more and more and more allies by creating a conspiracy that couldn't be disproved. Yeah. And that pushed more and more people into it. But they were going crazy. Have you ever seen the movies, you know, like Alfred Hitchcock? Crazy movies. Yeah, where you got a husband or a wife, and they decide they're going to drive their husband or wife crazy and make them jump out the window. They're not going to do it. Yeah. And they're going to say things that are untrue, and then they're going to think, oh my God, did I really say that? Did I really do that? Is this really going on? Questioning reality. Yeah. There's movies based on it all over the place. Spies do it. Government officials do it. Yeah. People running countries and businesses. Yeah. Create a facade of illusion in order to get a loan, in order to get credit, in order to get credibility. Yeah? Because you can't verify it. Yeah? And these people just go on and on and on. Yeah? But it drives people crazy. Drives them crazy. Yeah? Imagine Enron. Yeah? Here's all these people. Do you really think there's that many evil people that would join one country, one company, that would call old people, you know, because they've got the telephone list of the electric company and the phone company and all the lists. They got them all. And they call people acting as though they're part of the electric company. And they say, we are a branch, and we will save you enormous money. Plus you can buy stock, you know. And all this, and it doesn't even exist. It's a non-existent company. And went on and on and on. Billions of dollars were taken out of people's pockets. And it took regular American people sitting in an office in a conspiracy within themselves, thinking that what they're doing is what they should do. And they did it all the way to the point to where the head people went and took all the money and bought really big houses, real big property, never went to prison. Yeah. And everybody else just got their boxes and walked out and, you know, were fired. And slowly but surely it did get into the legal process and people did go to prison. But the majority of it is that they got away. And that is the process of lies and conspiracy. You could draw people into it and cause people to eat the apple without knowing they're eating an apple. And once they take that first bite, they're never the same. They think differently. They walk differently. They experience life differently. And it's a collective consciousness. Yeah, the whole building, all of Enron, they're all thinking the same thoughts. They're all in the same astral plane. That's what happened with Trump. That's what happened with these evangelists. Yeah, check this out.
Trump will be in office. You watch what happens this date, this date, this date. None of it happens. And they just skip on their merry way, and you've got believers hurting all around the country. That's irresponsible. We need to bring accountability into the charismatic movement.
Dr. Brown, we wholeheartedly agree. Accountability is so needed. And I just want to ask you, because one thing I know is a lot of millennials and people my age group are just talking about is God exposing an idol that was in the church, that they were worshiping Donald Trump in a way because they wanted to prophesy and believe what they wanted to come about, but that's not what God was saying. And also just showing the rise of, feels like there's two different gospels right now. There's Christian nationalism, and then there's a gospel self. What's your thoughts? What's your take?
I'm with you 100% on that. As a Trump voter, I raised concerns all along saying, okay, here's how it could be for good, here's how it could be for bad. I had a chapter in the book asking, is this a match made in heaven or a marriage with hell? So as a Trump voter, I always had those concerns. And what's happened is this has exposed the rise of an unhealthy Christian nationalism. We don't mean that we can't be patriots. We can love Jesus and be patriots and love our country. That's fine. But a Christian nationalism joins together the destiny of America with the kingdom of God as if they're one and the same. It drapes the gospel in an American flag, and that is always unhealthy, and it brings a certain triumphalism where we will Christianize the world by taking over and ruling from the top down. All that does is bring reproach and drives people away from Jesus. And especially as a white evangelical, we become better known as the Trump people than the Jesus people.
And that's true. That's his lesson. Everybody's going to get their lesson. Yeah. And it is the dweller on the threshold. No one walks through this life, forever, without coming to grips with the reality that we're in heaven, and that this place is impure. This is not a holy place. It's not a sacred place. It's defiled, day in, day out, with capitalism, with false religion, false prophets, with craziness. Yeah, and that's all due to the astral plane. And we have no idea the astral plane exists. We don't know how to clear it. So as I was saying, the pyramid is a big deal. Its process of the pyramid is more of a relationship where people are in an understanding where the pyramid itself is it's in its geometric design, in its manifestation, in its location, in all the things that we can ever learn. We can learn about time and space. We can learn about literally the speed of light. We can learn the location of the hemisphere of the earth, the width of the earth, the distance between the earth and the moon. All those things are in the mathematical manifestation of the pyramid. Yeah. So in that, without our knowing, because the thing is that we don't know. But the dark side gives you this prideful quality, this thing that goes on that makes you think you know, so you can't hear something that comes with wisdom. The knowing is there all too much. So in this process of the pyramid is radiating out a communication. The influence of the pyramid is that the entire pyramid comes from the capstone down. The whole pyramid. All there is really a capstone. It's just one huge capstone. So everything about the pyramid, it starts off with the capstone. And the capstone and the cornerstone, the very corner of that, it's the same thing as the capstone, is Christ. So the influence that's coming down into it is a miracle of divinity, divine order. And that's not something that's inside of humanity, because humanity will judge people, criticize people, and not wait, not be sensitive enough to reach the place where the person needs help, and not disdain or judgment or all the things that people do, rather than helping. And helping is all that this is about, the ability to help. And that means what you expect to happen is not what happens. That's how you help. You realize you're not in charge, you're not God, you do not know what's right or wrong. You do not know. You don't know. So what you need to do is watch. Watch. And instill calmness and caring and consideration, and see the circumstances and go, wow, that's not what I would do. I wouldn't be in this circumstance. You can talk like that rather than judging a person. And they can learn from their mistakes. And that's what we're here for, the opportunities to change our path. Change it a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And after a long time, we find ourselves closer and closer to our true self. And people love us for this, because we build character, we do things that are memorable, like skills and kindness and right thinking and cooperative understanding, things that work for people, move people in the right way. So it's really difficult to change a society that's built in the astral plane. So this temple, this process, check this pyramid out again.
Into a new relationship with God. So you have a full standing, showing the way of holiness. And so we see all of these demonstrated in the Book of the Dead, but then we replace it with what we call the Bible. And we see these features demonstrated very clearly for us. Also, if we turn the pyramid sideways, we can actually illustrate the chart of the ages within the pyramid.
So now if you look at this, the pyramid itself is a destiny. It's a plan. It's the mind of God working itself out. Fully complete. It's just that there's free will involved. And humanity has a process of living through that free will. And you look back and you'll see it's the world that was, and then the patriarch age, and Jewish age, and the gospel age, the Messianic age, and then the world to come in the Messianic age. Messiah. Yeah. And in that time, this is where this time comes in, you know, where this level of reality starts coming in. We get divine nature. We develop human perfection. Yeah. And we heal depravity. Yeah. We raise, we ascend. We don't criticize. We don't misunderstand. Yeah. We don't delude and project illusions and delusions. Yeah, which is not a path for people to walk through. It's a terrible cloud. It's a horrible thing to not have vision, not have a proper vision. Yeah? And everybody has instilled with them the ability to see what's in front of them and deal with it. You know, just instincts and everything. You know, you can't be there to tell a person what to do. You know, everybody's got to do what they have to do. Yeah? And this is what's built in this. This helps, it shows you right here, divine nature. Yeah? That's what we're moving through. Yeah? And we do that when we reach this Messianic period, which is where we're stepping into right now.
We see all of the different dimensions there lined up with the chart of the ages. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Who's going to understand these things? In due time they would talk. God says, who is like me? Isaiah 46, 6 through 10. And thus the Lord says, who is like me? Let him proclaim it and declare it. Yes, let him recount it to me in order from the time that I established the ancient nation. And let them declare to them the things that are coming and the events that are going to take place. For I am God and there is none else. I am God and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning. And so God's challenging him and saying, who else can do this? Only God can do it.
So what is he talking about? Yeah, the end. You know, everybody else read the same thing. Yeah, the end. Oh, it's got to be the apocalypse. You know, or we all get, you know, wiped out, and we go off into God's land, and we're the end of living in existence. You know, all these things about the end, yeah, but it has nothing to do with the plan, God's plan, yeah. God's plan is that God moves us into a new world, yeah. And the problem is that this is your world, not God's world, yeah. And up to this point in time, as far as your world goes, God's dead or probably doesn't exist, yeah. Weak, tired, old, you know, incapable of doing the great work that maybe might have been done long, long ago when God was young and vital. Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. How come there were miracles back then and there's no miracles now? Has God died? Did God get old? Did he degenerate? Is he weak? Yeah. The truth is that God is a non-existent material reality. Yeah, immortal, eternal. Yeah, doesn't have that degenerative process. So when we study this, you know, we go back into that pyramid study and we understand it, we'll see that the pyramid itself aligns us to the soul, and the soul aligns us to regeneration, and that takes us to the end of death. Yeah. And that's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. Yeah. But no one talks like that. No one mentions that. Yeah. It's like it's all hell coming, you know, and we need a Trump first so we can have a nuclear war. That's what these evangelists are prophesizing. They're reading the Bible, interpreting it in doomsday. Yeah. Not in the coming of the Lord, not in the way in which it says in the Bible. Yeah. Yeah. If they read the Bible, they'd be focused on soul therapy. Yeah. They'd be well aware of my existence and all the work that I do, because I've been teaching the pyramid since I was 9 years old. Yeah, I was teaching masters, as a child. Yeah. And it's a very long process of getting this out, getting this communicated. Because people have a strong sixth ray process, and they're much more interested in a religion than the Messiah. Yeah, much more interested. Yeah, because a religion is a lot like a sport. You can consider, that, you're saved, now I'm going to eat my wafer, now I'm going to, now I'll go off and I'll sin, I'll come back and I'll confess my sins, back and forth. It's like a game. Yeah, nothing you ever pay. You don't pay anything. You don't do anything to make a difference, to make a change. Yeah, it's just a game. Yeah. And then you got other religious people that say, wow, if you give me $1,000, you'll get $10,000. Yeah. You tithe to me 10% of what you got, you'll be so much more fortunate. Every problem you have will go away. That's how God works. Look at this. This little tiny thing said in the Bible is interpreted this way. Therefore, trust me, it's true. Yeah. And there's an enormous amount of religion out there based on greed and money and helping people get through their finances by taking their money and saying, give this to me and God will multiply it, because God's a magician. Yeah, God works like that. God only cares about your material needs. Yeah, rather than you changing. Yeah, and taking on higher thought, meditating, eating differently, exercising, being kind, quitting your asshole job, walking away from people who lie to you all the time, that are driving you crazy. But those people, those circumstances, they usually create more devotion and makes it impossible for you to walk away. Your mom, your dad, they just, they can beat the crap out of you, say terrible things about you, and yet you can't walk away. You can't alter, that, because these are your parents, or this is your business, or you are part of this team, or you are a Catholic, or you are Jewish, whatever. It's all an illusion. You're nothing. You're a human being, a child of God. Make it as simple as you can get it. Because that's why this pyramid is so important. It's the phi ratio, a simple note of Om. It's a phi ratio. It's what comes out of my mouth. It's my, my form. The first manifested being. And that holds everything to its form. And with it comes a temple, comes trees, comes animals, comes everything. That's how it works. But we're not aware of this. We're in this whole thing thinking that this is a materialistic manifestation. And being just one person, if you've ever watched the movie of Jesus and stuff, you'll find that there's a devil that is constantly keeping everybody from not recognizing Jesus. That's the job of the devil. It's the only job of the devil. The only job. That's not like I'm paranoid. It's the truth. And it has no effect on me. The devil's not talking in my ear. The devil's not in my body. The devil's not the way I see things. So it's in the temptation of the weakness of the soul that the devil gets to you. What if this virus is going to heal and everything's going to work out and God is actually a part of this? But what if you want to spend time looking for the things that happen in the bad side when people get symptoms? And put your mind in that thought. rather than think, what if this gets blessed? What if the reason why there's symptoms behind this is because there's imperil being pressured upon it in thought form? And there's no element that you can put on this earth that's going to do anybody any good when humanity has bad thoughts toward it. Yeah, fear, anxiety of any kind. But that is exactly what's going on. So we're going to need 20 or 30 different types of vaccines just to get around the imperil, the avarice that people have in their own selfish process of, I might get a urinary infection. I've seen that, I read it. And I already have urinary infections. Every time we study into the virus, we need to really do our best to understand that this is going to have many different vaccines coming out. And they're hard to get. So the one that you're probably going to get is under the hands of God. And your timing is in God's timing rather than, your bad luck. As though you have a special deal with the devil, so that you could just go about doing your bad luck. And even if you know Jesus Christ, you still don't have good luck. You got to really watch out. Does that make sense? Does it? Because it's not easy getting this across. I'm trying to get people into at least a second initiation so that we can feed the children after this thing's over with. Because you're not going to feed children with baseball. You're not going to feed them with football. You're not going to feed them with people who will say, I won't wear a mask. Because those people, they don't care. Check this out.
Networks. And another COVID record will be set, that of the least number of in-stadium spectators for a Super Bowl. Just 25,000 fans will see the game in person, including 7,500 vaccinated healthcare workers. Senior national correspondent Mark Strassman reports from Tampa.
Super Bowl 55 in Tampa faces one known threat, COVID-19. The NFL blitzed with adjustments. A stadium 1/3 full. Cardboard-like cutouts will outnumber people. Mandatory face masks.
We had a lot of unknowns ourselves. We had to adapt at every stage just like everybody else.
For fans watching anywhere, the CDC urges no chanting or cheering and mask up.
It's the Super Bowl, not the stupid bowl.
But parties outside the stadium spread worry, or worse, about masks, social distancing, and potential spikes unrelated to a touchdown celebration. Concerns already realized overnight in North Carolina. Now, some good news. COVID America's various benchmarks suggest transmission has dropped to pre-Thanksgiving levels. This week, new cases fell below 1 million nationally, at least a 10% drop in 19 states, more than 25% in 20 others.
Pretty good.
MLS and NHL also announcing they will be suspending their seasons as MLB cancels spring training sessions and delays its regular season for at least the first 2 weeks. Now, the NCAA canceling March Madness tournaments and remaining championship games, PGA and the NASCAR, all continuing, but without fans in attendance, while other sporting events, including the Summer Olympics in Tokyo, are still up in the air. Let's bring in Jared Max from Fox News Headlines 24/7 for more. Jared, a lot of people think, well, these are just sporting events, people having fun, you can get but think of all the thousands of vendors, all of the people that may not be paid directly by the leagues themselves, but that work as independent contractors who are going to be losing their jobs, at least temporarily. That could really hurt them.
For a lot of people who live paycheck to paycheck, and a good portion of the United States and the world certainly does, this is a huge hit. People talk about the amount of money that's going to get lost here. You could look at the NCAA tournament. It's over $1 billion that's worth.
Now, those are words, yeah? But what is the action? Yeah. Normally, what we have is greed. People in charge are greedy, and they're demigods. They're evil. Yeah. And they're in that position because they collect the largest amount of money, and they do not care about anybody. So if it came up to where concussions come up and everything, they're going to do everything they can to cover it up. Not pay any suits, not say anything. That's their nature. That is what has happened all the way. Yeah? They're only thinking of themselves, and they're thinking of their money, and they're not going to give these people lifetime insurance. They're not going to do it. This is the only thing they have to really do. That's all they have to do. But they're not doing it. Let alone, on the other side, they have to pay for all damages up to that point. Cover it and give full-time insurance for the whole family, because it's a mental illness, it's a physical problem, everything. That person's not going to have the money to give insurance to their family. That's going to lead to more problems. Yeah? So in a world like this, we have to behave. Now, the first start of it would be what if all these people were to go, the new people who are running these big corporations, and there are some good ones, angels, that are running these really what used to be incredibly evil corporations. Yeah? And most of them, sports corporations, were ran by really evil, greedy people, uncaring people. Yeah? But now, as this comes up, what they're finding out is that instead of caring about whether or not they're making bazillions of dollars, they're caring about whether or not people are going to get harmed. Yeah? Whether or not someone's going to get sick in the stands. Yeah? Whether or not their football players are going to get sick, and they're willing to literally pull back, have no games whatsoever, yeah, and make the right decision. Yeah? Check this out.
How much is it worth the rest of the NHL season? 3.5 weeks to go. The NBA season. There's all big money, but that's money that I don't think that most people really register with. What registers to us is, wait a second, I have bills coming in. If they're sending me home from work, how am I possibly going to be able to pay my bills, let alone go out and get some food? David, I was thinking this earlier, that if you would have told me 1 week ago that all of these sports leagues in North America, these major pro sports leagues, would get suspended before I would find some hand sanitizer back on the shelves at the supermarket, I'd say you're out of your mind. Yeah. Something is askew here.
Jonathan?
Well, I'm shocked. I mean, I thought these greedy, money-hungry capitalists, I thought they don't care about people. I thought they would kill people to make a buck, right? That's what we always hear about capitalists, is that they would kill their customers just to make some money. Of course, that's not the case. And Mark Cuban, I think, to his credit, put this out there very clearly, that it's about people's lives.
That's right. Yeah. It's a new world. The new group of world servers is not evil demons. Yeah. And they do take the place of everything in culture, everything. Your manufacturing companies, your technology companies, your oil companies, every single bit of them. Sooner or later, all those people die, and somebody else comes in that's fully qualified to take the position. The problem is that they're an angel, and they don't compromise. They might have a really big house, you know, but not by stealing from other people. So their process is this is another scenario. Yeah, this is not the way it used to be. Capitalism, as I've been teaching, is our biggest root of the problem. Yeah, it's actually a religious process. It's not a process of democracy. It's not a process of humanity. It's based on religion. If you study capitalism, right underneath the big gold pot is priests, the clergy, and then there's the freaking president. This is ridiculous. That's capitalism, people. Below that is the military. Below that is police officers and other people, and middle class, the extreme wealthy. Yeah, and then there's those people that hold up this great big, massive, energetic principle of capitalism. And it's all ran by all you people who are fans that go to the football game and don't wear the mask and are being led like sheep. And that's what you're being told for the last 2 years. Are you being led like sheep? Are you being lied to? Are you capable of knowing what this man is saying? Are you cross-checking what he's saying? No, we're not. No, we watch Fox News. No, that's it. And now he's gone, and now it's found out to be all a lie. Yeah. And that process is the dweller on the threshold. No one, goes out, and wants to be in QAnon, They're possessed to get into it. It's a psychological problem. We have very few mental hospitals. We have very little psychology because of Scientology. They wiped it out. They made psychology illegal. Yeah, an average person can go become a therapist in order to guide a person in their daily life, like a psychologist used to do. But now they're just, what do you call them? Those people that guide people, a life coach. I mean, really, the worst programs you see on TV is when someone says they're a life coach. That's when you go, oh, really? Let's hear this one. Because they're usually just a piece of crap, and they're just taking money, $1,200 at a time. Bam, here you go. Get back out there. You're great. Pat, pat on the back. Change your clothes. Get a house that I would buy. Do what I would do. We're just more sheep, more being led. Yeah. So this influence that we're being moved through is an enormous amount of astral plane. And the astral plane is at an end. Just like this guy showed, he's going, well, I used to think capitalism was like really greedy and they didn't care and they would never do something like this, but yet they did. Yeah. And it's not, if Trump was still president, we would be still people crazy. They'd all be going, well, I'm not sure if I should wear a mask. Well, I'm not sure if I shouldn't go to the game. I'm not sure if I shouldn't go to a festival. Yeah. Why? Because Trump does these great big events. He doesn't do them anymore. But when he did, that meant that festivals should be okay. Why can't we go to church and have large gatherings in church? If Trump can have his gatherings, why can't we go to church? If Trump can have his gatherings, why can't we have our football games? It was really a problem. Everybody was constantly up against that. All the states, all the towns, all the cities were in a mental confusion as to what's right and what's wrong. Is this really a hoax? Is the president just living in another world and we're supposed to live in this world of doing something about it? And he wants to just go about having a ball and partying all the time? That's all he wants to do? And we should continue that? Because that's how we'll make money? That's all it's about, making money? Yeah. So that was a learning lesson. Everybody's learning from that big one. Yeah. Check this out.
Good evening, Adriana. Restrictions here on worship in California have fluctuated since March. Soon services can resume inside with limits on attendance and singing.
With the nation still in the grips of a pandemic, a win for religious groups in California, the United States Supreme Court last night ruled 6-3 to block Governor Newsom's ban on indoor services.
Can you imagine that? Yeah? And that's because we're still in Trump territory. Yeah? They're still saying, well, religion got to be necessary for us to all gather and go into a church because somehow that's going to change our ability to accept the vaccine. And, it makes no sense because you're doing the wrong thing right off the bat. Everybody sitting there is not going to be wearing a mask. You're not going to be sitting 6 feet apart. You're not going to be limited to 80 people or 20 people in a hall. None of that. None of those restrictions will be there. Yeah. So it's literally opening the house in order to give everybody weakness, to establish weakness. It's not about the religion, but it's about a door of opportunity. Well, it could be a restaurant, it could be hairstyling, it could be an exercise gym, wherever your fanaticism is. If you're so stupid and you think you need to go get your hair done during a coronavirus, you should get it. Yeah? If you really feel you have to go out, to a restaurant with a whole bunch of other people, and sit there and just enjoy yourself, with a bunch of other idiots, you should do that. But it's not the right thing to do. And we should have it within our divine nature to be led by God. Led by God. That's how we get out of accidents. That's how we know, don't turn right, because you don't know in the future that turn is going to be a car accident. That turn is like the butterfly effect. And everything that we're doing is like the butterfly effect. So we have to do this right. And it's all a matter of cooperation. It's not a matter of fanaticism. It's not a matter of, the devil's making you do it in judgment. It's not a matter of any of that. It's a matter of staying calm, staying clean, staying home, getting your vaccination. The only way we'll get herd immunity, and it does work, but it only works through vaccination. You get mass vaccinations. Everybody gets the vaccination. Then we have herd immunity. And no one will get the virus. No one. And the virus will not multiply into multiple forms of viruses. Right now, we're the biggest breeding ground on planet Earth. It's not a safe place to be. Breeding here, we have cultures of people. Enormous numbers of people from Mexico will not take the virus or vaccine simply because they're afraid that they'll get caught. Signing something, asked a question. They don't even like to go to the hospital. Because they can get deported. It could ruin their family's life. We got to work this out. We got to be able to give people vaccines without identification. Just minimal identification. What's it going to do? What are they going to steal it out of their arm or something? What? If a person wants it, we should just accept their name and trust that that's their true name. And if they come back with that name again, okay, you're going to get your second shot. But it has nothing to do with a Social Security card, a driver's license, or any identification whatsoever. That'll allow everybody in America to feel confident and free and not have a problem. And we've got to do that. There's not an alternative. There's not like, oh, maybe we can, whatever, and quarantine off. They won't go. They won't go. So we need to do things. We need to be compassionate. We need to have understanding in order to really follow this thing through. People are afraid. The vaccine is not dangerous. There's multiple vaccines. Some vaccines are harder for some people to take and could lead to real problems, like the first two. But after that, we're going into new vaccines that do not work off the same principles. So they don't go into your DNA. They don't go into processes of changing the cellular relationship of your body, which is the first two do that. To counteract your weakness of getting that particular virus. So our process in humanity is to get through, our initiations. And this virus is a big one, but we need to look out and see the world for what's really going on. This is a time to where demigods are being fired. Yeah. We know that Fox TV was filled with people who are psychologically imbalanced. And they're just biased, prejudiced, they believe in a conspiracy, they believe President Trump 100%, even if he's a lie that's so easy to figure out, even if all the courts say no, there is no conspiracy, everything is working better than ever, actually, even if any of that is said, people on Fox TV would turn it around and say words that would come out of a lie and not be able to check it out and help people clear this process. Yeah. So what happened to Fox TV? Yeah. $2.6 billion suit. That's a heck of a lot of money. And major people in it were sued. Well, guess what? They were fired. Yeah. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to see so many people fired from companies and companies going out of business because they were associated with this lie that ranges into billions of dollars. And the world trying to develop democracy. It literally could stop it. Yeah. Because these processes of us being able to vote and do the things that we're doing, illegal voting happens without the software, without the technology, without a closed system. Yeah? Closed system keeps it safe. We've been working for so long to develop the safe, secure, closed system to the point mail-in was safe. All these things were safe, well-developed, safe systems so people would have rights to vote for a good person and get the bad person out that doesn't represent the good people. Yeah? And the majority of the good who vote, vote for the good. And we evolve. Yeah? But it's in this process to where no voting goes on and dictators come in and they throw out the votes, just like in Miramar, which was exactly what Trump wanted done. Yeah? And because we're not in Miramar, it didn't happen. But because they were in Miramar, it did happen. This is the United States. We're good people by large numbers. Yeah? And our process here is to facilitate democracy. So we can't have this thing about voting systems, are corrupt. A president who started something like that and gets that going on, is so demonstrably destructive in a world to where everything that is good all leads up to that dominion democratic voting system. It led up to that. It was the process of a long period of time of weighing in and getting the right technologies in hand. And in Venezuela, in Africa, in America, all over the world, is trying to create more democracy. And that's only done by people having the right to vote, having the right to choose, and ousting dictators or tyrannical people who do not allow voting to take place because they want to maintain evil. Yeah, that's the reason for democracy. Yeah? And that's the dweller on the threshold, because we're in the middle of corruption. Yeah, we have one of the evilest people in the world who became the president of the United States, and he's friends with the other evil people in the world of China and Korea and Russia. And he looks up to them like, wow, that would be great. I'd love to have tanks all in front of me and all the military saluting me just like in Korea. That's so cool. Yeah, I'd love to be treated like in Russia. Have you seen how they treat him when he walks by? Why, that's how I want everybody to treat me. That's exactly what Trump said. Yeah, he was completely in a delusion of grandeur, as though those evil worlds was a proper one for him to try and bring about. Forget democracy. Yeah? Let's have the grand process that you can have. Grandiose, grand. Biggest mansions, mostest money, all illegal acts, and no one could do anything about it. No matter how corrupt he is. You can't do shit about it. He can kill people, he can do whatever he wants, and you can't do anything about it. That is not democracy. Yeah? And people were willing to allow this to happen. And we're still in that. Yeah? So it's in this process, and this is happening in time. Yeah? We got to really, really consider that we are in a time, and I'm not speaking prophecy of doom or anything like that, but we are in a time where God is impressing upon this situation and taking out evil people. And you do not have a choice in the matter. You will follow them unless I take them out. Yeah? You will follow Michael Jackson unless I take him out. You will follow Sai Baba unless I take him out. You'll follow the Dalai Lama unless I shut his mouth and make him say truth rather than lies coming out of his solar plex about things that are not true and destroy millions of people's lives in doing that. Same thing with the Pope. And he's a harder demon to deal with than all the rest of these. Yeah. Because he sits right on the throne of Lucifer. He sits pledged to Lucifer. And if you've done any study, you've listened to anything during the Easter Mass and all that time, and you listen to him pronounce Lucifer over and over and over in the process of his benediction. His relationship with God is Lucifer. And that he himself is the Father, and the Father is Lucifer. Yeah? This is all right there for you. The problem is that it's in Latin. And it's said in Latin, and you don't get to understand it. And you just sit there in your doughy eyes and your fanatic stare, and just go, oh, I'm so blessed to be here in the presence of this wonderful Pope. You're cursed like you cannot imagine. Yeah. And the influences of everybody is being taken down. Everything about Rome, everything about him, how it's going to be destroyed, how it's going to be wiped out. Just like the time in my life as Jesus, I said, this temple is going down. It is going down. It is not what it is. It is not. This is money changers. These are tax people. These are liars. This is a sham. There should be no temple here. This is going down. And it did. It was gone exactly as he said. And all of this is going down. Cities are going to go down. The churches, mega churches, are going to go down. Yeah. Closing of the doors of football, baseball, basketball, all going to go down. And not in any negative way. Just simply by people having a soul. And they have a sense that, I cannot watch a football game knowing that these guys are torturing themselves for me. For what? Yeah. And the money and the greed and the fame, everything is all wrong. I have no interest in it. No interest. I can think of other things better to do than follow a freaking football game and go on to baseball, then basketball, then hockey, and whatever stupid thing that I can follow that is mindless. Things that will never require a skill of mine, ever. I'll just get a bigger, fatter butt. That's it. And I'll die young and stupider. Yeah? You don't get anything out of being fanatical. Fanatical stops your growth. Stops your mind. Stops your growth. It stops your soul. Yeah? That's why it's not a good idea if you get into a religion. I don't like anybody in my scenario to be fanatical. Yeah, it's a really big thing to me. You know, I do not, you know, a lot of times people would think, oh, I'm going to go to Shambhala and I'm going to see Buddha Maitreya, Jesus, you know. And you're not going to see me. And I'm here and you're not going to see me. And if you do, I'm not going to pay any attention to you. You know? I'll say hi and things like that because that's what I do. You know, I like people, you know, but I'm not obligated. You know, I'm not obligated. I don't expect a person to be fanatical and fall on their knees and go crazy over me. You know, I don't want that. If you're going to do something like that, get up, go do something somewhere else. You know, but don't do it in front of me. I go to Tibet. Nobody does crouching on the floor and anything like that. It's just not the nature of what I put out. Yeah, they'll do it to the Dalai Lama. They'll do it to all the other gurus. But I'm changing everything. These people didn't even know their birthdays. They didn't even know anything. And I have entered everything into a natural place to where they have a reverence of self-realization, rather than a lack of self-realization and a constant sense of fanatical idolization of a human being, whether of forms or people. You're not to idolize people. Yeah, I don't want to be idolized. It would drive me crazy. And the thing is that it won't really drive me crazy because I don't really get into it. It's nothing. It's nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I'll never be a rock star because I have no skills in relationship to doing such a thing like that. Everything I do is spiritual. And being really spiritual, it does not lend to fanaticism at all. You know? So when people come to me, they lose that sixth ray and they gain their heart. Their heart gets stronger, they get more relaxed, they get more subtle. All those things come in, yeah, and that's what's going on Earth. You know, this whole process of, you know, Trump being gone, and here now we've had Biden only for a couple weeks. But can you imagine all that has been done in just 2 weeks? We're down 20% in the number of people who've got the virus in America. 20%. Come on, we were going up every day. You know. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people dying. Yeah? And now it's going down, 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 down. Yeah? And that's not because, you know, we, you know, have changed something. Yeah? The main thing that's changed is that there are a large number of people who are not being told not to wear masks, not being told to be fanatical and idealistic and in their own, you know, utopian ideals. Yeah, there's no Trump energy going out. Yeah, so people are making decisions on their own. Yeah, they're following their own soul. Their guidance is coming back. Yeah, and they're starting to heal. Yeah, even these people in sports and everything. And religion, it's going to be slow. But I just showed you that those same evangelical people that said Trump is almost like God, they're now saying we really stepped into something. You know, we became idolizers and we, you know, we created a new religion over this guy rather than the people that we really are, the purpose behind our real truth. You know, and these were calm people. You heard them talking. Yeah. They were healed in the process. But there's these other really crazy people out there that just look at you with the demon in their eye and just go, yeah, but I was right. And I prophesize. And then they rationalize why it happened, what's going to happen, and they're going to try it again. You know, but that is going to get smaller, weaker, directly by the effect of dharma. Yeah, the influence of dharma. The dharma is the truth. Yeah, and when you wipe away people who are the manifestation of a lie, yeah, they worry all the time. They are concerned about other people. They have all these thoughts that aren't real. They make them up because they have a bad mind. Yeah? And it looks at the world as though the world is bad and the person's bad and the outcome's going to be bad. Yeah? And all of that is just a spin. It's an astral plane. And that influence is dramatically going to be wiped out. That door is going to close. Yeah? And from that, we're going to recognize Lou Dobbs. And even Fox is going to go, okay, their soon as 2.6 million. All right, Lou Dobbs, you're fired. All right, you're fired over here. All right, writer for this guy, he's fired. You know, they fired 3 people, main writers for their top people. All were fired. Yeah. Get off this bandwagon. He did lose. There was no bad vote. We have to stop this now or we're going to lose the company. Yeah. And this isn't just one company. This is a lot of media, a lot of places that are lying. And to me, it's important that we find the truth. That's the purpose behind the media. It's the purpose behind people who are in the news. News is there in order to look for what people didn't see that's being covered up. It's corrupt. Police officers that are corrupt. Businesses that are corrupt, laws that are being broken and changed in order to facilitate corruption. Yeah, all those things go on. And if it wasn't for the media, this world would be so horrible. Yeah, if you go back in time and listen to other presidents like Kennedy, you know, he didn't like the media, but he appreciated the media. He understood that it was absolutely necessary that they existed and that they did what they did, you know, and keep the public aware of what's going on, yeah, because they could spread lies and constantly spread blown up, delusionary, corrupt, suspicious innuendos that aren't true, yeah, like Fox, yeah, or One American News, yeah, where they just make shit up, yeah, and they know they're making shit up, yeah, in order to get ratings, yeah. But we're in the time of making shit up loses ratings, yeah. That's a whole other world. Making shit up loses ratings, yeah. Having sports loses ratings. Yeah, because we're finding that that's not really a good thing. You know, having sports and all the money and all the greed and all the corruption, all the things. Yeah, all of that, slowly but surely, we come to discern, discriminate, because we have to awaken our heart, and our heart will change the world. Yeah, if we're attracted to certain things that are a covenant with evil, then we're going to maintain evil by being their little disciples. Yeah? Channeling for them. Yeah? On a day-to-day basis in little subtle ways. Because that's what the astral plane is. It's tying knots around the world between people. Karma. And it's a channeling that doesn't allow people to untie their knots, which is what they're supposed to be doing. Instead, they're making up shit to make more knots. I deal with it all the time. A knot comes out about every 5 minutes, you know, and I just go, whoa, okay, whew, calm down. All right, that's not a problem. That's not, I have to say it like 3 or 4 times. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Oh, that's not a problem. And then I fix it, and it takes like a half a minute. And it really, as I'm fixing it, it's obviously not a problem. It's a lack of communication. And the emotion gets upset because a lack of ability to not be prideful. A delusion of grandeur goes in to, oh, texting, everybody can hear me, everybody can see me, they're avoiding me. They're not paying attention. They're not doing shit. Who knows? You know, the phone may not be working, the Wi-Fi may not be working, all kinds of things may not be working. So it's really difficult. What I do is that I text every single person the same message until I get an okay, hello. And then I go from there. And if I don't get that, I call. And I don't assume that people are just not paying any attention to me, you know, because that doesn't help matters, you know. It's obvious. If they could, they would, you know. So that's the way it is with anything and everything. If we deal with what's coming at us, you know, as it's coming at us, yeah, that's inside the pyramid, yeah, and then we untie it. Because we have no idea that our job in life is to untie the karma of people who can't untie their karma. Yeah? We're to be an opportunity to, people make mistakes, you know. And wisdom is to help people with love, loving wisdom, yeah? Help people understand what's going on and not like manipulate, but shine a light on it, you know, of understanding, you know. And that way the person goes, oh, I see it. Oh, I see it. But if it's not said right, if it's not done right, and you got to really allow this to grow into a person, you can't expect anything, yeah? Yeah, because thought form building is a very hard thing to let go of. It's like habits. It's hard to let go of them. You don't know why. The elements are there, the circumstances are there that makes that hook, that makes that person not change, yeah? But the only thing that helps a person change is your calmness of not pushing them. Like if you get a person, a fish on a hook, you pull on it in order to catch their mouth, yeah? Well, that's what people normally do. People get themselves caught on a hook, yeah? And instead of helping the person calm down, relax, it'll come right out and you'll swim away, yeah? Instead, you know, you know, and then the person pulls on the hook and they're all excited and everything and the fish is gone, yeah? And it's not a good thing, yeah? So everything, it's all a process of what it is that we are attracted to that causes us to get into these circumstances. And you can't logically figure them out. You can't, because it has to do with previous lives and circumstances you weren't involved in, yeah, that are still karmically tying up the person. People, places, things, all kinds of things, yeah? So everything heals in the process of allowing this first and second initiation to take place. It'll happen, yeah? By the year 2025, so many people will be so much different than they are today. I mean dramatically different. And they'll know they're different. They'll know they're kinder. They'll have gotten rid of habits. They'll have stopped drinking. They'll be on a healthy program. You know, they'll actually take charge of their lives in a positive way. Yeah. And this is really a difficult thing because we're in the middle of a virus. We're in the middle of having no money. We're in the middle of no jobs. We're in between presidents and the evil president, and who knows whether or not Biden is good or bad. You know, you got to take a chance on that. Yeah. But we're in a process, yeah, to where all of the karmic processes that all of humanity has gone through, they're all being purged through this line of energy. Yeah. And it's a difficult one to deal with, you know, because if we can all understand the process of how the pyramid really is an existing state of vibratory consciousness that can be in everyone, but isn't. Yeah. So here I represent that pyramid. I teach. Yeah. I make the forms and I teach about it. I explain God. I teach about it. I explain angels. I teach about. I explain Jesus Christ, where he came from, who he was, and what his entire life was. I explain that. And anybody else who explains it, you know, they got diverse, all kinds of shit to say. You know, oh, you know, he went off to, you know, Zanzibar, you know, lived 1,800 years, you know, he's still alive now, you know, all kinds of stories. Yeah. Mine are not stories. Everything that I'm sharing, everything that I'm putting out, has to do with our history, our true history. And we are in a process of that history. Yeah? Everything. Imagine if what we do in karma, if we make a difference, we turn a wheel, we make a difference, we bring people onto the path. Yeah? And people no longer are drawn in this direction because of their elemental nature. Yeah? And their nature gets to a higher nature. They're drawn, attracted to right relationship, other fellow people in a higher nature. Now in Buddhism, we call that Sangha. Yeah? In Sangha, it's very difficult. It doesn't really happen until the second initiation. Yeah? Until then, it's not Sangha. Sangha is a very, very non-ordinary state of consciousness. Yeah? There's guru worship that has to do with it, and it has nothing to do with idols or anything like that. It has to do with reincarnation and the attributes of finding your teacher. And when you come back across that, you come into recapitulation. So this has been done throughout the hierarchy. Yeah? And it's the same thing that happens in the lower levels of humanity. Yeah? So if you go through your good karma, you get through this. Yeah? 2025, you're at a place in your good karma, you're discerning, discriminating, you're leaving people alone better than you did. Yeah? And the karma is expressing from the Lord rather than from the emotional body of judgment of personality, person to person, personality. Personality could be Trump, personality could be anybody. It's still personality. We don't want personality. Yeah? We don't want Kardashian. Yeah? We don't want anything that has to do with that. Yeah? Because we just don't know that that has to do with all of our suffering. And that's not where the teacher's at. The teacher's not in personality. Yeah? The teacher is a master. Yeah? So it's really, that's the guiding process that we're moving to, is the place to where we can actually say the word master and not think a violinist, or an artist, yeah? Or a person who does sculpture, or a person who plays golf, yeah, the masters, yeah. All that has to die. It has to die, because that's the astral plane. You cannot use words that are based in dharma in a state of karma. You can't use them. You have to stop. So therefore, all of that has to be changed. Yeah, you can have all your paintings. You can have your, all of this. Your greatest golfer, your greatest painter, your greatest violinist, your greatest artist. All that, and you under your delusion, you can be under the concept that that's a master, and you've lost it. Because in reality, these are people who have not done anything to master the inner qualities of peace. Because almost all those people were psychologically imbalanced, emotionally unstable, and on the edge of suicide. Almost all of them, almost all those famous people. Yeah? Yeah? It doesn't matter who it is. Yeah? It doesn't matter. Yeah? They all were nuttier than a fruitcake, perverted, having an enormous amount of processes. And then in the end, oh, look at that painting. Van Gogh, what a crazy motherfucker. Crazier than shit. Perverted, syphilis, cut his ear off, had sex with children. All you got to do is read. Yeah. You should never, ever, ever want to look at those pictures. Nothing in them should draw you to them. Yeah? Yeah? It's a psychosis, an emanation of psychosis. It's not a soul. It's not a God quality. It's not love. It's not light. It's not an expression of divinity of any kind. Yeah? So all the artists were used to create false divinity and did everything that the Bible said not to do. Create idols. images of Zeus, images of God, images of man in perfection, woman in perfection, yeah? As though those are things that that person, because they can create an image, yeah? It makes them into a master. And they're not. They're skillful. They have skills, yeah? But under delusion of grandeur, you know, and we're not in a process of meditation. We're not in a process of changing our heart and becoming less connected to this materialistic world. You know, we're more connected at loss, you know, due to a lack of love and self-worth and all the things we have to grow as a soul. Then we're going to think that false prophets are saints. Yeah? And we're just going to buy into the Catholic Church just signs off saints left and right like they're no qualifications whatsoever. Yeah? And as though they have the God's ability to create saints. Yeah? And justify saints. And you have to die in order to be a saint in the Catholic Church. And it's not true. In Buddhism, in true mastery through India and other places, death is not the relationship of becoming a saint. Death is the transmigration of the soul. Yeah? And you teach about that so people understand that you have a soul. Yeah? And death is not part of it. Yeah? Death is just a transmigration. Yeah? You know, so being able to radiate had to do with behavior. You know, that these people fasted, they meditated, they spoke and studied dharma. That's all they did. Yeah? And they worked with herbs, they worked with animals, they helped with other people who didn't have food, they didn't have clothes, that didn't have housing. You know? They would help in that way. Those were saints. Those are saints. Yeah? Not the priests, you know, or a Catholic priest or anybody like that, just by being a priest. Ding, 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 ding. Again, sorry, Sanka. So that's the process, yeah, is delusions of grandeur, and it's in the astral plane, and it's a part of the process of the second initiation in the Dark Lodge. And people who are in high places and have a lot of position and things like that in this world, even Lou Dobbs and all these people who have gotten into the position of thinking that this is their ego, this is their pride, this is what they need to do. They need to be in this position of fame and fortune, yeah, qualified by that because of previous lives of being a person who misled people and followed leaders that were misleading people. Yeah, whether it be Hitler, Mussolini, or the Pope, whoever, it's been going on for all this time. And that's the closing of the door. It's not something you choose. It's something that happens to them. Yeah, because the circumstances comes up to where they are given lies that can be proven wrong. And that becomes judgment. Yeah. The process of being able to do this for greed and for grandeur was the purpose behind the lies. Yeah? But now it's under the overshadowing. Yeah? And the overshadowing is creating demonstrable lies that are called delusions of grandeur. So that the person who's doing the lies goes crazy. They go crazy. On a mass crazy QAnon kind of thing. It's really big, yeah? And you can't figure it out, you know? But as it ends, the lies always say, this is what's going to happen at this hour. This is what's going to happen on this day. This is going to be the outcome for the future. This is the real behind-the-scenes situation. These are the things that are going to really make the differences. And none of those things happen. None of them. Why? Because God is not a machine. And that's what they believed, because there was not enough spirituality in this world to keep this world from being in the astral plane of the machine. The machine, yeah? And that's what we're in. We're in a machine. Yeah? We're in a process of politics, we're in a process of media, we're in a process of science, we're in all these different places, and we're set in a system. If it's greedy, it's set in order to manipulate things, in order to make money for harmful reasons, and not caring about the outcome of the destruction that's going to happen in the end. Whether it be nuclear war, or devastation of people in Africa, or people in anywhere in the world. Yeah, the outcome of it is not thought. Yeah, just like in Myanmar, what happens when you take over a country? Is that going to be a good thing? Huh? Mm-mm. No, the military will suffer greatly. They will. They will suffer greatly. They're not going to get any good out of it, and the people will suffer greatly. Yeah, there will be no good that will come out of it. Yeah. But they believe there is, and that's why they did it. Yeah? So that's the lie. That's the delusion of grandeur. And that delusion of grandeur, because of the heart, because of the soul, fizzles. Yeah? It doesn't work. It turns out terrible, just like Trump. Now he could be going to prison. Now 5 people have died, and other people are willing to commit suicide because of it. Yeah? And are in completely mentally unrest, just because of this guy. And little is going to be done for it, yeah? But he will be closed. He will never be president again. He will never have the legal right to do the things he believes he has the right to do, yeah? Because dharma is taking over karma. It's a big thing. You all have good karma. And if you practice, yeah, your good karma, yeah, which is day to day, just how you behave with each other, how you feel about each other, how you deal with your meal, how you deal with whether or not what you do. And if you don't do it, you don't feel guilty. You don't feel bad about yourself. Oh, I'm the kind of person that doesn't do it, you know. You can't do that, yeah. You got to accept what it is you're doing. You have to accept it. Because that's the best. It's the best. You may think it should be better, but trust me, you're doing your best. And your best is good enough. That's it. That's all you got to do, yeah? But the problem is that you don't see it that way, you know? You don't see what is the best, what it is you're doing is enough, and that is the best, yeah? That this is a very hard world, and you're up against the whole world, and it's not a machine. Yeah? And that goodness turns into dharma. And you can't feel it or experience it because you're still going through the energy of humanity's astral plane. And it's not a personal thing. Does that make sense? It's not a personal thing. Yeah? So in a few years, everybody will be relieved of this process. I mean, you can't imagine how enormous amount of people who are, messing around with their sexual process and their human relationships, considerations of how they handle being with 5 or 6 dogs, living in a little tiny house with 3 dogs, 2 cats, a couple fish, and all these things. But yet, in Buddhism, we don't have dogs or cats or fish or birds or things like that. We caretake them. Yeah, they're a very different thing. If you need milk, you have a cow. If you need this, if you have a dog, they protect the animals. If you have a horse, you ride the horse. If you have these things, they're there because of animal husbandry. Yeah, it's part of the nature of a human in relationship to animals. Yeah, but a process inside of humanity is that we do not have that discernment yet. It's an astral thing, and it's growing bigger inside of people. Even people in countries that never had pets before now want their dogs and pets and leashes and all the things that come with the American lifestyle of everybody having a dog, And go to Korea, they eat them, So not many people have a dog, But that's just the way it is. And we're in a process to where we are exchanging, you know, and everybody's got their thing. Certain groups have to have these animals, have to have this lifestyle, have to behave in certain ways because they're a collective group. But that's going to heal. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it's a difficulty. There is this thing called the Tuku disease. And there is an enormous number of people who are on the earth, 144,000 Tukus who are on the earth. And less than 2,000 of them have any idea that they're a Tuku. And have any support system within that. Any reverence, any education, anything. And their willingness in themselves to apply themselves as a recapitulated Tuku who can benefit humanity by not taking on social conditions. Yeah, because that's what Tukus are supposed to do. If you ever seen the movie The Last Airbender, the reason why The Last Airbender did not want to be the Tuku is because he wasn't to get married. Yeah, he was never to have a relationship. And he was 9 years old. And he was starting to feel maturity and a sense of how nice it would be to have friends, you know, and, you know, connect with people and maybe have a relationship like everybody else has a relationship and all that. But then they took him to the temple where he had 10,000 statues of himself representing the fact that not one of them did that. And the reason they didn't do that because they are the only single avatar on earth. And the avatar needs to maintain the purification to control the elements. Or they're like everybody else who's under those elements and are suffering and dying because of the very elements they can't control. Yeah, does that make sense? So Tukus control elements by controlling their emotions. It's not like the movie, you know, the Avatar. It's like masters when they control their emotions. It's fire, it's wind, it's earth, it's all these elements. Whee. An interesting little floating thing. Yeah. So anyway, it's those elements and it's that process that humanity is going through. So you don't have to worry in relationship to how we're going to heal this because there are so many Tukus on earth that are going through a process and they're the ones who are going to wake up and benefit, you know, greatly. And they're the ones that are so confused and so at a loss because if you have a recapitulation of an enormous amount of spirituality and 99% of the rest of the world have never experienced such spirituality, then you're at a loss as to why would you feel that? Why would you think that? What are you, deluded, prideful, egotistical? There would be no reason inside you to have that thought, have it to come up. It's quenched, gone. You know, seriously, there's no energy of it. It just evaporates. Yeah, and it's because people take on other ideas. You know, I'd like maybe I want to be a boat builder. You know, maybe I want to be a banker or a doctor. Yeah, I know a lot of Tukus who have given up on being a Tuku and gone to college, and Logan Tuku completely dropped out. You know, and that was a great deal of suffering for a lot of people. Yeah. And that process is now changing, you know, because we're all in this change where the Tukus that I've been talking about, the hierarchy, is in a place of awakening nature. And they're the ones that are going to benefit humanity by releasing the influence that comes with their lack of ability to be themselves. And being themselves is so happy, so joyful. I mean, come on, you cannot imagine the bliss and the joy, all the things that humanity thinks would be great, you know, to have as an aspect of your nature, like super happiness, super joy, an enlightened thought, you know, immediate ability to let go of a serious problem and not see it or feel it as serious and see it for what it really is. And then all of a sudden everybody else calms down and sees it for what. To be in that position is a joyful state. in a person. And that's where tukus are going to go. Tukus are going to get that experience, they're going to have that experience, and they're going to grow in that experience as they reach their third initiation and fourth and fifth initiation. And that's going to, we'll never have seen happier people, never seen more joyful people, than tukus who are able to retain their soul and recapitulate it while they're alive. You'll never see a sadder person, a more desperate person, a more suicidal person than a tuku who doesn't get that to happen. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah. So anyway, let's pray. Let's help all sentient beings. I'm going to show a 2-minute video of, there's a video I did of the pyramid that shows the awakening of humanity and how and why that happens. And what it is that every living being was created at the time of creation. Yeah. And every living being is in the pyramid. It's a collective, and the embodiment of it is a pyramid. All of it together, and there's different levels of it. Yeah, the very top are the highest entities. Yeah, the energy of God and Jesus. Yeah, and that influence manifests as the manifestation of the soul. So that becomes Jesus. So right in the very capstone, the capstone of the pyramid is Jesus. Yeah, and then, as Jesus externalizes, that's from the beginning of time. Yeah. As Jesus externalizes, the pyramid grows wider. Yeah. And humanity is born out of Jesus. Yeah. And the human race gets bigger and wider. And out of that, large masses of people die and reincarnate, and they create this pyramid of evolution. Yeah. An evolutionary pyramid. Yeah. And every living human being and all the hierarchy is in stratus of the pyramid. So the pyramid literally encloses the earth. And it's all of humanity. All of us are all over the earth. But we are the phi ratio. We are walking pyramids. Yeah. And if you can get to the point to where you go back to enter the pyramid, you get your pyramid, you start your soul therapy, you get your Vajras, get your Weavers, you back into Metatron science. Yeah. Once you enter back into that, then your monad, your soul, and your etheric field are operating. It's a very necessary thing. It's a science. Without that science, we can't close this door. Yeah. It's not all about the initiations of all the hierarchy. It's about the erasing of all sentiency in all humanity. Yeah? And when all of humanity is connected in, that's when everything works. Yeah? It can't be a separation between hierarchy and humanity. It all has to be connected in. Yeah? So it's going to show you this in this little video. It's only 2 minutes long, so you get to watch it. Stay awake, Eric. I'm just kidding. You need to read.
I am a messenger of light. I am a pilgrim on the way of love. I do not walk alone, but I know myself as one with all great souls, and one with them in service. Their strength is mine. This strength I claim. My strength is theirs, and this I freely give. A soul, I walk on earth. I represent the One. God moves the world. The past has gone. I am that past. It makes me what I am. The future comes. I also am the coming destiny, and therefore I am that.
I think that's pretty cool. All right, so now we pray. Okay, repeat after me. Lord Jesus the Christ.
Lord Jesus the Christ.
Thank you for bringing me here.
Thank you for bringing me here.
Lord Jesus the Christ.
Lord Jesus the Christ.
I open my heart today.
I open my heart today.
And I invite you to come inside.
And I invite you to come inside.
Come and save my life. Receive me today as a child of God.
Receive me today as a child of God.
Forgive all my sins and write my name in the book of life.
Forgive all my sins and write my name in the book of life.
I give myself to you.
I give myself to you.
My spirit, my soul, my body. Receive me, Jesus the Christ.
Receive me, Jesus the Christ.
Now the devil. The blood of Jesus the Christ is against you.
The blood of Jesus the Christ is against you.
I command you now to leave me.
I command you now to leave me.
I do not belong to you.
I do not belong to you.
I am God's property.
I am God's property.
Leave my life.
Leave my life.
I disassociate myself with you. I renounce every evil covenant. I have entered in with you. In Jesus' name, I receive salvation. I am a child of God. Amen. Okay, we'll do our puja. Om is about every 10 seconds. Just go along with me. Okay, just relax. Okay, you can open your eyes. Hello. Okay, so it'll be a few years until the process of Dharma practice, really becomes fluid in people's lives, to where they know what karma yoga is, they know what kriya yoga is, and they know what bhakti yoga is, and those are things you attain, Karma yoga is when you don't get pissed off, you work it through, and you realize everything is an opportunity for you to bless, so uncontrolled emotions, all those kind of things is not in the process an action within a blessing. So you do your yoga in order to tune into it, and chill it, and work on that on a day-to-day basis. And you do this while you're washing dishes, and you do this, you don't go om, but you go about your life appreciating your life. There's nothing in your life that is not there as a blessing, and if it's there as your own setup, a lot of times people have a tendency to get things, do things, have things, circumcise their relationship, cut things out of their relationship and put things in to the relationship that don't fit, and so when we have a right relationship in life, it takes time to get things right, but once they are right, and like in my case, Tara and I have been together for a long time, and her first meeting with me was a darshan, the first time she ever met me, and here I'm building a pyramid, I'm putting it all up, I'm getting ready to sit on a pillow and talk, because I'm Jesus, I'm a master of wisdom, I'm the real thing, the only living master of wisdom, walking and talking, and it's time for me to externalize, and it's time for me to meet Tara, and I was fully aware of what was going on, so in the process, I'm, only focusing on her, teaching her. Everything that I said in that teaching was directed toward her, and everything that I said was something that she would understand, and that was a teaching to a tuku, and that allows Dharma. That's what the Dharma is about, is to be able to teach to a student that's receptive and wants to be taught, may have all kinds of problems, but once this starts, those problems will go away due to recapitulation. I'm enlightened, and so that enlightenment takes a long time. And the very beginning of it was karma yoga. So that's where, when she first met me, her first words was, can I help you? Can I serve you? Can I do something? Karma yoga. And it was 100%. She even went out and bought Dharma clothing. She didn't even know that she was buying Tibetan Dharma clothing that day, and put them on and showed up wearing them, total spontaneous, But in reality, she was recapitulating just by coming in my process, And it slowly but surely fostered her for being her and protect her from that point on. Yeah, because your dharma protects you. Your dharma is your protection. Yeah, you have an enormous amount of elemental connections in this world, and it's the elements that set up the opportunities and circumstances and things. They make the cars you're going to have. They make the house you're interested in. They make everything. It's not a material world, not a capitalistic world in relationship to dharma. The exact same world is a world created by the Dharma King. Yeah? And this is known by the initiates. You know? So everything from that point on is initiated to further the externalization of the kingdom of Dharma. Yeah? So that's how that began. You know? So I set up a pyramid, I teach, I do all this, and I start turning that wheel. And that wheel really took on. You know, we went from one place to the next. All of what she was going to do and had focused to do was to develop a place called Synergy. I had just finished working at a place called Synergy for 8 years in establishing a Dharma center and establishing my first pyramid center, my first healing center, a clinic, the whole bit, even a teaching school. Yeah, all Synergy. I didn't name it. It was already named when I got there, you know. But here she's like, you know, oh, I need a place that's called Synergy, you know, and I want to do this and this. And these are all things that in Dharma, are things that would be opportunities that would come her way. Yeah. And that's what happens in Dharma. You have a mind that picks up the fluidness that comes with Dharma. You know, it actually begins putting the blocks down. It actually creates like making a sand painting, yeah. But you get it in vision, yeah. You get it in an impression, and that becomes Kriya Yoga. Yeah, Kriya Yoga is the influence of being able to create the material manifestation for the Dharma King. So, with her ability, her Kriya Yoga, we were able to establish and find Shambhala and build it. Yeah, in a very short period of time. It was like overnight. A movie, Little Buddha, was made immediately after we met. Yeah, yeah, and it was all based on the very same thing. Here, female tuku, male tuku, tukus. Yeah, all of this was establishing Kriya Yoga, but it was actually taking a higher level called Bhakti Yoga. Yeah, and that's where everybody's going. That's where everybody comes to their wholeness in themselves. When the influence of God is actually in your heart, and your heart is fully awakened to God's presence on earth, no matter when you incarnate, no matter who you speak to, you see God in that person. Yeah, namaste. Yeah, you really do. It's not a fancy thing to say. It's not like, oh yeah, all this stuff, you know. It's a real thing. Yeah, that's Bhakti Yoga. Yeah, and that's what at this tuku, Tara, that's what she has in her yoga. Yeah, so she can practice Karma Yoga, she can practice Kriya Yoga, she can practice Bhakti Yoga, and all happens naturally. And I can witness. My job is to witness the externalization or recapitulation, and that allows me to be put back on a throne. Who put me on a throne? She did. Yeah. She was the one who established the whole thing, the opportunity. She stayed in Kathmandu, fostered everything, despite the hell and the circumstances that was placed in her life. To doubt herself, to question herself in every possible way. Despite that, she still fulfilled the Dharma King's need. Because the Dharma King's need is more important than her need. And her need was to go through the shit that she had to go through, and she couldn't make sense of it because there were demons involved. Yeah? And that's what happens in Karma Yoga. Every single toilet you clean, every person you meet, everything you deal with is people who are possessed. Yeah. And everything that comes at you, you may not be aware of the fact that these people are possessed. They're out after you and they want to destroy you. You don't quite get that, but you learn it as time goes on. Yeah. But that process fostered Logan Tuku, all the Maitreya Vihar, all of Karma Raj, the feeding of all the children of Karma Raj, the manifestation of my first enthronement, and the ability to establish Buddha Maitreya in the world. Yeah, she did that. Yeah, and established that, and that was done by Karma Yoga, Kriya Yoga. Yeah, because despite the demon, she still got it to happen. She still got it to happen. Yeah. And she still got everything to move forward in the next stage, which was go to Drepung, teach in the school, and establish all the tukus and facilitate them, which is everything that I would say. And she's just going, I don't know how we're going to do that, you know. But we did it, yeah. And it's all because of these yogic practices that are inside of a person that don't get in the way of the process of dharma. The turning of wheel of dharma, yeah? You may think you do, but you don't, yeah? There's too many things going on. That's why I'm saying when you look out now and you see in this world, we do not have a Trump. That is your tuku reality, yeah? Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah? That's your karma yoga, yeah? That we voted him out, you know? 80,000 people voted him in, but another 7 or 80 million people voted him in, another 7 million people voted him out, you know. So that's our karma yoga, and that's done by Kriya Yoga, a truth. Kriya Yoga has to do with the fact that we are spiritual, not physical material. Kriya Yoga. And so the chakras are in control, the governing body is relationship to the Lord King himself, and everything is in bhakti reality, and it will serve only in that way throughout time, forever. Yeah, yeah. So Kriya Yoga is the first establishing process, and you could see that if you look out in the world today. People are not going crazy over not getting to the football games, and they should be. They should be rioting, but they're not. Yeah, people who are in charge of it, making all this money. They should be suing and doing what they normally do, but they're not. They're not. They're being infused by Kriya Yoga, yeah? And they're being overshadowed by Bhakti Yoga. All three of these things are manifesting inside of humanity as the three initiations manifest. Each one is a yoga. And they're natural in divinity in everyone. It's natural in Tara. It's natural in all of you, yeah? And it's my job to witness it, make it happen, manifest it, yeah? But my job is to witness it, and until that happens, I have nothing to say about how it's going. You're doing good, things are better. Nope. I will only teach about what needs to change. And then once it begins to change, I start teaching the new thing, revelation. Take a look around. We do not have a Trump. We are 20% down on the relationship of this virus. And we do have a vaccine everybody will get before September. Every single person in the United States will get the vaccine. Yeah? And this is only due to cooperation. And our problem in this situation was a lack of cooperation because we didn't have yoga. It's all about yoga, natural yoga. Yeah. All right. That's it. Thank you all very much.